Dodge Challenger is really the only true muscle car left. Big coupe, bigger engine, and power to the rear. However, what if a Hellcat person won the lottery and wanted to move into something a little more luxurious? Well, I imagine they'd find themselves in something like this BMW M8. The BMW M8 competition is the most powerful BMW that's ever been made, with 617 ponies coming from a 4.4-liter turbocharged V8, which leaves it still 100 horsepower shy of the Hellcat. Although contrary to Dodge people's belief, horsepower numbers aren't everything. The M8 uses a brilliant ZF 8-speed gearbox, which will always be quicker than the 3-pedal manual in the Spicy Kitty. Now here's the biggest sacrilege for the muscle man getting into the M8. BMW uses a clever electric all-wheel drive system. You can send power to just the back, but sending any power to the front is, well, it's for communists. Now let's talk Challenger. The best way I can describe this car is like driving the world's most violent recliner. Whether you love or hate muscle, you have to give it up to Dodge because they stay true to their roots. Big coupe, big, heavy, comfy seats, and then a vicious drivetrain. We all know the numbers: 6.2-liter supercharged V8 making 707 horsepower. Yes, this is a 2016 model, but the 2019 models and up get 717. Either way, the Challenger is the only car here that offers an old-school 3-pedal, 6-speed gearbox and sends power to just the fat rear rubber. This car is built for drag and straight-line speed, but let's grab the keys and see if we can go around corners like the more sophisticated BMW. So I, until this video, had only driven the Jeep Grand Cherokee Trackhawk, making me the only automotive journalist in the world that hadn't driven a true Hellcat yet. And I have to say, this is a bit different. Now the thing to keep in mind as we go from something like the Trackhawk to the Challenger here is that Trackhawk has the same mill but has 4 drive wheels, and if you jab the throttle too much, you'll spin all 4 wheels in that Trackhawk. So take away 2 of those drive wheels, same mill, same 707 horsepower. Yeah, you can get it loose. Now, all in all, this is set up to be a drag car, and what that means is that launches are very important. So, while 707 horsepower is the big number, that's the marketing number, the real important number down low is the 650 pound-feet of torque coming from this blown 6.2 V8. Now that power goes to the back wheels through some sticky Pirelli P0 rubber, and they're 275s in the back, so they're not necessarily tiny. However, 0 to 60 is only good for 3.6 seconds. So it's not slow, but it's not neck-snappingly fast. Honestly, one of the biggest things that holds this car back is the gearbox. I have with me the Enthusiast spec, which is 3 pedals and 6 speeds. However, that makes me the slowest thing in this car. I am the slowest spec of this car. Biggest issue is grip, because like I said, there's just an overwhelming amount of power going to just the rear wheels. And yes, you do have some more aggressive rubber in the back, but with a wide body kit, the more modern versions of this car, you will have a little bit more meat on those back rubber. Basically what this means is that yes, this is designed to go in a straight line, and I think it would be kind of a handful on a road course. But with that being said, I also have to mention that I took the Scat Pack version of this car, which is a 6.4-liter V8 without the supercharger, and that thing shocked me at how compliant and disciplined it was on track. Gradual power and then full up the hill. Hard on the brakes under the bridge. And then the other week I had another Scat Pack. It was a Charger from my friends at Amato, coincidentally, and again, that thing surprised me with how serious it was behind the wheel. Yes, you can get it loose if you want to, but it definitely can tighten up and get a little bit more serious. All this is basically to say that, yeah, this is a muscle car, and yeah, it's huge. It's 4,400 pounds-ish, but this is still a sophisticated performance car at the end of the day. You have electronically controlled adaptive dampers, you have a really sophisticated traction control system, and you can control all that in your performance pages on the dash. And honestly, when you lean into it in a corner, downshift, it does what it needs to do. ultimately, you need to understand the dynamics of a car like this. You need to understand how to roll onto the power and not jab at the throttle. And yeah, 707 horsepower is a lot, and you can walk the back end out in pretty much any gear at any RPM. But if it's too much for you, just put the red key down, pick up the black key. That's going to cut your horsepower by like over 200, and then you'll be fine. The most endearing thing about this, and the best thing, is the sound, because it is just ridiculous. There's so much character and theater that you get from this powertrain. The supercharger whine is unlike anything that you'll experience in really anything. It's so loud, it's so dramatic, and it just dominates your experience. And that is really what I kind of look for in cars like this, because it's not going to be everything to all people, so it needs to have character, it needs to have a personality, and whether you're pushing it 10/10ths on a track and you're trying to link corners and, you know, drive in a precise manner, or if you're just bombing it and mobbing between stoplights, this thing is an absolute riot. But let's jump outside and talk about some final thoughts on our experience behind the wheel of this Hellcat. All right, obligatory drift, corner. There we go again. Ultimately, behind the wheel of the Challenger Hellcat, the experience can be summed up in one word, and that's overwhelming. It's sensory overload from idle. And while you want to be pushing it and you want to be getting the most out of the engine, because it is such an amazing and dominating experience, this engine, the sound that you get out of it is crazy, you have to skate that fine line between life and death with the grip, because there is so much power and it can get out of hand so quickly. And ultimately, at the end of the day, this is a 2016 model and it only has 707 horsepower. But the point is, this is on sale with my friends at Amato Dodge for about $52,000. And to me, that's kind of a scary number, because that puts it in the realm of possibility for a lot of people, and a lot of people can't handle this. It takes a really experienced person to be able to safely handle this much engine, this much power. I honestly think that cars like this should come with driving lessons included in the price. But in any case, let's get behind the wheel of the Beamer and see how it compares. And behind the wheel of the BMW M8, the experience and the vibe is completely different, and you would expect that for over double the price. Yes, you have forced induction here, and it's quite good, but rather than a big blower, you've got turbo power here, and that's something that BMW does quite well. The biggest difference here is I'm not constantly worried about losing grip or traction. I'm not constantly fighting this because it has double the drive wheels. And yes, the Challenger has a sophisticated traction control system, and that's all well and good. But the fact of the matter is, even with traction dialed all the way back or turned off here, I know that if I get too sideways, if I get too squirrely, that the front wheels will engage and it'll pull me out. So the drivetrain on this is superior if you're looking for grip and traction and a more precise driving experience. Now, another thing that also helps with keeping the car nice and neat and tidy is the fact that we have a ZF 8-speed automatic gearbox, and it's not a dual clutch. A lot of the M cars from the previous gen have been dual clutches, but to be completely honest, this ZF is fantastic. It is one of my favorite transmissions that is on the market today, because it's intuitive, it snaps off shifts, upshifts, downshifts. It does exactly what you want it to do without hesitation, and it's just a really good box. Now, the reason that I say that it's tidier and it's more manageable than the Challenger is because, well, like I mentioned, I'm not the slowest thing in this car anymore, and if I miss rev matching on a downshift, I'm not too concerned about completely breaking the back wheels loose, because it does it for me. So yes, power, 670, gearbox, lightning quick, all-wheel drive. The diffs handle the power delivery perfectly. It's a rear bias system, and that's where most of the power goes most of the time, and you can control that, but it's just nice to have that extra grip. Now, the reason that you Dodge boys are here, and well, a lot of people are here, is drag times. 0 to 60, that sort of thing. 2.5 seconds here. Now, for those of you that need a refresher, it was 3.6 in the Challenger. Remember, that Challenger was built for that purpose, for drag, for launch. It loses a bit on launch. Now, I will say, given maybe a half mile, the Challenger will start to walk up, but the launch on this thing is over a second quicker than in that Hellcat. That's insane. That is stupid fast. So, while both cars are stuffed to the gills with power, the BMW lacks a little something that the Challenger has in spades, and that's personality. No amount of throttle mapping or damper refinement or whatever they've done here can inject a little bit of character or personality into this. These cars are clinically fast. They are amazing feats of engineering. They are just stupid quick and capable, and from an engineering and efficiency perspective, it just beats the crap out of most everything on the market, but it doesn't make it necessarily fun. I guess what I'm really trying to say is that it doesn't feel special in the way that older BMWs used to, or the way that the Challenger does now. And at 150 grand, I want my car to feel special, you know? And I think a lot of it is psychological in the sense that this car, on paper, in execution, in an objective test, is perfection. And perfection doesn't really resonate with the human character. We like things with flaws. We like things that aren't perfect. That kind of sticks with us because we aren't perfect. So when BMW comes out with something that's this well buttoned down and this well put together, you kind of lose a little bit of that human element. And for those of you that are kind of getting the hint here, you understand that the only beef that I have with this BMW M8 is the fact that it's too good. It needs a flaw, it needs an error. So if that's the only negative thing that I can say about it, yeah, it's a bit big, it's heavy, but both of these cars are, and that's why you got into here. This is not a track weapon. This is a big, powerful, super comfortable, great sounding Grand Tourer. All right, let's do a quick recap. So, this BMW M8 would likely, I haven't tested it, but would likely drive circles around the Challenger Hellcat around a road course. I think this is just a little bit more buttoned down. The suspension tuning is a little bit more refined. The drivetrain, there's less slip. It's a more efficient drivetrain, and the suspension is just a bit better. Now, 0 to 60, this car is also over a second quicker. 2.5 versus, what was it in the Hellcat, 3.6? So, quicker to 60. Now, for the quarter mile, I'm going to give the Hellcat, now granted this isn't the one we tested, but I'm going to give the Hellcat the wide body kit, which gives you a little bit more meat on the back wheels. That thing does the quarter mile in 10.96 seconds. Nothing to sniff at, very respectable time, but almost 11 seconds versus what you get in here. This is 10.7 seconds. That's fantastic. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the tires that you get on here, we had 275s in the back on the Hellcat. We have 275s on the front here and 285s on the back here. So we have double the drive wheels here, and we have just overall more meat for more grip. So we also have a more intelligent launch control system. This isn't a manual. It's the better car, right? Well, let's jump outside and talk about final thoughts on this and how they compare. All right, so before we put this thing away, let's do a bit of a poll. We are an M2 Sport Plus, Sport Plus, Sport and Sport and Sport, and here we go. Oh my God. Wow, this thing is fast. And it does sound quite good. All right, let's get to it. So there you have it. I just went through all the stats that people seem to care about most in these videos, and the BMW took them all pretty handily. And on top of that, it's more modern, it's more sophisticated, so it's the better car, right? The problem is, like I've said on this channel 100 times, I'm an emotional man, so the absolute mania of the Hellcat stays with you. In the BMW, I can go onto the throttle at more than 50% and not be concerned for my life. I don't need to have my palms sweating, my knuckles white on the steering wheel every time I huck it into a corner. It just, you lose a little bit of that danger and that fear, and sometimes that's fun behind the wheel, especially if something with so much theater and so much power and the noise. And this BMW doesn't sound bad by any means, but there's just something about that Hellcat that has a little bit more character. Oh, and of course I like the fact that the Hellcat starts at less than half the price of this BMW. So, in the words of Jeremy Clarkson, this is brilliant, but I like the Hellcat. Thank you again to my dealer partners for making this video possible. International Autos for the BMW M8 Grand Coupe that we have here today, and Amato Auto Group for the Challenger Hellcat. If you guys like the video, hit that thumbs up, subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you next time.